Shalom, welcome back to the Deep Dive Special Edition series. Today we enter the mystery of the three heads of Atika Kadisha. And this teaching is not simple because the Zohar is describing levels of the divine that are not meant to be grasped in the normal way. This is not the mind trying to understand an object. This is the soul standing before a radiance so high that understanding itself has to become humble. The Idra Zuta says there are three heads imprinted, one inside another, and one above another. That image is very important. It means the highest divine reality is not flat. It is layered. It has depth within depth, concealment within concealment, head within head. The first head, from below upward, is concealed Chochmah. This is wisdom before it becomes open wisdom. It is not the wisdom of explanation, discussion, or clear definition. It is the root of all wisdom, the hidden beginning from which every other beginning receives its possibility. Every flash of insight, every true word of Torah, every moment where something suddenly becomes clear inside the soul, has its invisible root here. But this concealed Chochmah is still only the first head. Above it is the second head, the supernal head, the skull of Arich Anpin, the most hidden Atika Kadisha. This is not wisdom in the ordinary sense. This is the container above wisdom. It is the white skull, the place of pure mercy, the place where harshness has no hold. It is called hidden because even when it gives life to everything below it, it does not become exposed in the way lower things are exposed. And above, even that is the third head. The Zohar calls it the head of every head, a head that is not a head. That phrase sounds impossible. A head that is not a head. But that is exactly the point. A head usually means a beginning. It means a source. It means the top of a structure. But this highest head is so high that even calling it a head is already too much. It is a head only because everything else depends on it. But it is not a head because no mind can enter it, no wisdom can define it, and no understanding can surround it. The Zohar says no one knows what is in this head, and it is not known. It is not attached to Chochmah, and it is not attached to Tevunah, understanding. That means it is beyond both the flash of wisdom and the expansion of understanding. It is not something the intellect can climb toward and eventually capture. It is beyond the whole system of knowing. This is why the Zohar brings the image from Ezekiel that the living creatures ran and returned. Ratzoh vashov. They run forward and then they return. The soul rushes toward the mystery and then it must come back. The higher light draws you upward, but if you try to remain there without ordinary consciousness, the vessel cannot hold it. So, the movement has to be running and returning. Approach, then return. Yearn, then stabilize. Touch the edge, then come back into service. The soul runs toward the infinite because it loves the infinite. Then the soul returns because it was placed in a body, in a life, in a world with work to do. Always with humility. This is also why Atika Kadisha is called Ayin, nothingness. But Ayin does not mean empty in the ordinary sense. It does not mean there is nothing there. It means there is no thing there, no defined object, no limited form, no concept that the mind can hold. Ayin is not absence. Ayin is fullness so complete that it cannot be reduced into something. When the Zohar says Atika is called Ayin, it is teaching that the highest root is beyond the category of thinghood. Everything comes from it, but it itself cannot be turned into a thing. Every blessing comes from it, but it cannot be measured. Every sephirah depends on it, but it cannot be trapped inside the language of the sephirot. Most people want a God they can define quickly, a God they can place inside a sentence, a God who fits into their emotional needs, their arguments, their religious slogans, their personal images. But the Zohar does not let us do that. The Zohar says, above all the revealed names, above all the holy structures, above even wisdom itself, there is Ayin. The divine root is not less than what we understand. It is infinitely more than what understanding can contain. From this place, the teaching turns to the hairs. The Zohar says, the hairs do not come out of the skull itself. They come out of the concealed brain. This is a very precise image. Hair is a thin extension. It is not the inner essence, but it emerges from the head and becomes visible outside the head. Spiritually, hair represents a narrow channel of light, a thread a measured line, a way for something hidden to extend outward without overwhelming the lower worlds. The skull of Atika is too concealed, too pure, too beyond judgment. The hairs cannot be rooted directly in the skull, because the skull is completely beyond the place where judgment can even begin. So, the hairs emerge from the concealed brain, from the beginning point of hidden wisdom, from the first place where light begins to take a direction. And here the Idra Zuta gives a crucial clarification. In lower levels, hairs can be connected with judgments. They can represent constriction, severity, and the root of din. But in Atika Kadisha, the hairs are not judgments in an active sense. They are roots only. They are the possibility of measured flow, but already sweetened. They are not harsh. They do not strike. They do not accuse. The Zohar says they are all smooth. They are all equal in weight. That means no strand rises in arrogance over another. No strand carries imbalance. No strand breaks the harmony. Every line of flow is aligned with mercy. Every measured channel remains soft. Even the places that could become judgment in lower worlds are already pacified at the root. It means that before judgment becomes judgment, there is a level where it is only structure. Before severity becomes harshness, it is only measurement. Before limitation becomes pain, it is only the boundary that allows light to be received. Atika Kadisha holds even the roots of judgment inside mercy. So, when a person experiences limitation, discipline, delay, or constriction in life, the lower experience may feel hard, but at the root, above the place where things become painful, there is a sweetened source. The Kabbalistic work is to trace the judgment back upward until it is restored to mercy. That is why the hair of Atika is smooth. It is not tangled. It is not chaotic. It is arranged, balanced, softened, and equal. Each hair is a channel that allows the hidden brain to send light outward in a form the lower worlds can survive. Then the Zohar says the back of the neck is not visible. This is another subtle and powerful detail. In Kabbalah, the back often represents concealment, externality, or the place where judgment can grip. The verse says, "They turn their back to me and not their face." The back is a symbol of disconnection. The face is relationship. The back is withdrawal. But in Atika Kadisha, the back of the neck is not visible. Why? Because at this level, there is no backside in the harsh sense. There is no place where divine presence turns away. There is no exposed region for judgment to take hold. Everything is face. Everything is mercy. Everything is joy. The Zohar then gives the summary. All of this is because Atika Kadisha is in one light. It is all in joy, and it never changes from mercy. Atika Kadisha never changes from mercy. The lower worlds change. Human emotions change. Circumstances change. Prayer feels open one day and blocked another day. The heart feels alive one day and dry another day. But Atika Kadisha, the hidden root above all roots, does not shift from mercy. It is not sometimes kind and sometimes cruel. It is not sometimes close and sometimes hostile. At the deepest root, the divine will is steady compassion. This does not pretend that the lower worlds are easy. It means that beneath all complexity, the root is not hatred, abandonment, or random chaos. The root is mercy so pure that even judgment must eventually be sweetened by it. This is why the Idra says Atika abides in the 13 attributes of mercy. The structure is described as 3 times 4, making 12, and Atika itself includes them and rules over everything, making 13. 3 times 4 is a deep symbolic pattern. 3 suggests the 3 lines, right, left, and center, Hesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet, giving, restraint, and harmony. 4 suggests expansion into the full structure of manifestation, the spreading of the light into directions, vessels, and worlds. When the 3 are expressed through the 4, the hidden light becomes ordered. It becomes a complete pattern of mercy. But the 12 are not complete without the 13th. The 13th is Atika itself, including them all. The 13th is the unity that holds the pattern together. It is not merely one more item added to the list. It is the encompassing source that makes the 12 into one living flow. This is why the 13 attributes of mercy are so powerful. They are not just 13 beautiful descriptions. They are the shape of supernal mercy as it descends from the hidden root into the worlds. They are the channels through which the unknowable becomes kind to the knowable. The infinite becomes accessible without ceasing to be infinite. And here the teaching becomes very personal. A person can live only in the lower head, in the place of thoughts, plans, and explanations. That level matters, but it is not enough. A person can rise into wisdom, into deeper insight, into the hidden brain where truth begins to appear before words. That is higher. But even that is not the final root. Above wisdom is the head that is not a head, the Ayin, the unknowable source. Spiritual maturity means learning to live with all three. You use understanding where understanding is given. You receive wisdom when wisdom flashes. And you bow before the unknowable where no wisdom can enter. That balance protects the soul. Without understanding, a person becomes confused. Without wisdom, a person becomes shallow. Without surrender before Ayin, a person becomes arrogant, thinking the mind can possess God. The three heads correct all three errors. Concealed Chochmah gives depth. The skull of Atika gives mercy. The head that is not a head gives humility. And when those three are aligned inside a person, something changes. The mind becomes quieter. The heart becomes less reactive. The soul stops demanding that every mystery become immediately clear. You can stand before what you do not understand without collapsing. You can receive light without trying to control it. You can experience limitation without assuming you have been rejected. This is the inner work of Ayin. To become empty of false possession, so the true light can pass through. To release the need to define everything, so the hidden mercy can be felt. To stop clinging to the back, the place of disconnection, and turn again toward the face. Atika Kadisha is all joy, all mercy, never changing from compassion. The hairs are smooth. The roots of judgment are sweetened. The neck is not exposed. The three heads are imprinted within one another. And Above them all is the head that is not a head. This is not merely a map of the divine. It is a map of how the soul returns to its own highest root. The soul begins with questions. Then it receives flashes. Then it learns silence. And in that silence, it discovers that the highest nothingness is not empty at all. It is the hidden source of mercy from which everything lives. Shalom.